What up, Prof Leaders? Welcome back to my channel. We are on Thomas Road in Georgetown, Guyana. That's Thomas Road looking east towards the east coast, towards man. Morning. That's Thomas Road looking east. Not yet. Towards Vlissingen Road. As you can see, there is a traffic jam. There's always a traffic jam in the mornings here, coming off of the east coast. Thomas Road. Now, this is the new road that we're interested in. It has been, well, almost completed. It's not yet open, as you can see. But last time I showed you this road, they were still working on the surface and part of it. It runs next door to the national park. Right, that's the national park. And at the other end, before it becomes Sandy Bab Street, so at Vlissingen Road, Thomas Road becomes Sandy Bab Street, but just before it becomes Sandy Bab Street, it passes Camp Hyangana, which is the Army military base here in Georgetown, Guyana. What is interesting too is that they've installed the gates, the new gates to the national park. So here is the front entrance. It's made of green metal. But let's talk about what's happening here. So this is the new surface of Thomas Road. They've added a bridge. Apparently they're going to make a path, maybe a walking path along this reserve. So there's some reserve here outside of this wall. Maybe they're going to make a walking path. But this is the new Thomas Road. The last time we were here, we saw them putting down the surface and building this sidewalk next to the national park. So that's the national park. In fact, right next to us, this is the dog park. This is the new Woofington Park. So they put in a dog run, basically, some facilities for dogs. Now this new Thomas Road, this new surface of Thomas Road is not yet open to traffic. They haven't put in the road markings, but as you can see, some traffic is already using it. That is the turn onto Albert Street. We've just come off of Albert Street. So cars are turning left onto Albert Street because they're not allowed to drive onto Thomas Road. But there are some people who are, of course, not following the law or the rules, as lawless Guyanese are constantly doing. So they've built a walking sidewalk on one side of Thomas Road, Thomas Lands, and we're walking on it. Next door, that vacant land. That land has been vacant for about 40 years. I don't know who owns it. I thought it belonged to one of the sports clubs in Georgetown. As you know, all of this land close to the Atlantic Ocean was referred to as recreational lands, especially 40 or 50 years ago. So for example, this is the national park, and inside the national park there is this group of buildings that hosts things like the karate club and dance clubs, dance studios, and so on. So recreational activities for children in the park. There's the walking path around the national park, and there are various football fields and soccer pitches and cricket pitches and so on in the park. And beyond the national park, on the other side of Carifesta Avenue, in the distance, right in the way in the distance, on the other side of Carifesta Avenue, They used to be the recreation lands for schools. St. Stanislaus had a ground over there. The National Service and the National Service had a ground over there. Now the Ministry of Education also has a ground over there, and so on. So they're recreational lands, and all of this land along Thomas Lands, some of you know the history better than me, can explain that there is a Guyana Racing Association, Motor Racing Association, that owns this part of those buildings at the corner of Albert Street and Thomas Lands. Beyond them, there is the Maltinos Cricket Club, and another cricket club, and another cricket club. So a couple of cricket clubs before you get to the end of Thomas Lands. And then the western end, there is Queen's College, and they have a ground there where they also have recreational grounds, so for sports and so on. So all of this is recreational land, and running through this recreational land is Thomas Lands. I believe he was one of the colonial, functionaries, governors or something, one of the landowners from Britain, whose name gives this road, it was given to this road, Thomas Lands. Now they've rebuilt the surface of Thomas Lands, like I explained in the previous video. This is the second time they're resurfacing Thomas Lands. The first time they did it a few years ago, like 5 or 6 years ago, the surface did not last. But now they've done a more intensified foundation. They've laid a foundation and built these side shoulders, reinforced shoulders, and then built the sidewalk on top of the reinforced shoulder and resurfaced the road. So hopefully this is a much more durable solution to Thomas Lands. Again, that's looking east from the direction in which we've come. Right, that's Thomas Lands looking east in the direction from which we've come. And you can see on this side, that is on the south side of Thomas Lands, there is this land that is not yet fully reinforced and hasn't been covered with a sidewalk. And the question is why? Why put a sidewalk on one side? And also why put people have asked me in the past video, why put these posts, the electric light posts, in the road itself? Well, it's because in Guyana nothing goes according to plan. Everybody does haphazard, build it as you go along construction engineering. So quite likely nobody actually laid a plan out for this road before it was built. People just started putting stuff down as they went along, build it as you go along. So for example, here the sidewalk changes in level. People have asked me, well, what's wrong with having sidewalks that are basically drain covers? The problem with it is that if you build a sidewalk on drain cover, it's usually not smooth, and it appears to be an afterthought. It's ACDA headquarters, but as you can see, this sidewalk started out at one level, and then suddenly they just decided to change the construction, and so it went up a few inches, like 6 inches. You can see from the side. Right, so it was coming along nicely at one level, and then suddenly they just changed it, made it 6 inches or 4 inches taller. And that's what we call in Guyana, build it as you go, haphazard construction. No plans. So they've basically changed the plan and decided halfway along the project to change the design. This is the entrance to the Queen's College ground, and I think they've been using the back end of this ground for their construction materials, to store construction materials. But evidently the change in the construction of the sidewalk was intended to solve another problem, which is that if you put a ledge here, a curb basically, then what you're doing is you're pooling the water on the road. And they suddenly decided, you know what, we need to make sure we fix this problem. And so halfway along they decided to put these pipes. These are plastic PVC pipes inserted into the concrete and connected to the road surface so that you can drain water off of the road when it rains. But that's the way things are done in Guyana. This is what's happening here on Thomas Lands. Thought I'd give you an update on it and give you an insight into the haphazard way in which construction is done. Now, in any other country in the world, these roads would be built according to some standard plan that was laid out for roads of this nature, and those plans would be lodged in the engineering department, that is the city engineers department. And whenever they needed to build a road like this, those plans would be brought out and either modified or approved for the construction. The sidewalks would be well defined, the width of the road would be well defined, the placement of the light posts would be defined, and the width of the lanes, the road markings would all be well defined. But not in Guyana. In Guyana, everything is haphazard. Everything is just build it as you go, and what you get is a mixture of very bad design, very bad construction quality, and haphazard roads. The people who don't understand this, who say, well, it looks nice, it looks good, are also complicit in the chaos, right? The problem is that when you don't build roads according to plans, when you don't follow a prescribed plan, then the inconsistency gets passed on to the road users, and you get inconsistent road use. You got people breaking the law because the road was not built to encourage keeping the law. And so you get road accidents and you get traffic jams, all because no consistent plan is followed for building roads in Guyana. But that's what we have here, and this is where we are at the end of construction point of Thomas Lands. As you can see, there's still a distance to go before you get to Camp Street, and so the road stops, that is construction, has stopped before you get to Camp Street. In fact, just before you start passing Queen's College campus, the building on the other side. That building is Marian Academy. That is a high school. Well, I think it's a elementary school and a high school combined. A private school, private Catholic school here, Marian Academy. And I think these kids are also from the school. They're in their physical education PE uniforms out here on the on the grounds of the YMCA here on Thomas Lands. But that's it, guys. That's what's happening in this neck of the woods. If you want to see more content like this, click like and subscribe. That's Queen's College on a Wednesday. Wednesday, was it the 15th of January 2025? Wednesday, January 15th, 2025. Seems as if kids are also meeting under the administration building, probably for classes or clubs. Recreational Collegium here in Georgetown, that's Queen's College, and this is Thomas Lands in Georgetown, Guyana. As we approach the end of Thomas Lands, it said it ends at Camp Street. This is what's happening in this neck of the woods. If you want to see more content like this, click like and subscribe. Share this video with friends and family around the world. Let people know what's happening in the fastest growing economy in the world, Guyana. Alright, that's the grill over at YMCA. They have a little recreational park for kids here too. Yeah, share this video with friends and family around the world. Let people know what's happening in the fastest growing country in the world, Guyana. Later! That's camp.